Hello, welcome and welcome back. This is Jacob, and today we are going to be continuing and finishing off the narration and character voice acting for the When Elegies Are Ashes side story. Alright everybody, it is time for the finale and to wrap up this story, to see how it ends and what we're gonna be left on once again. But before we do so, as always, to anybody who bumps into the voiceover through this very episode, you can find the full playlist for this and all the other connected stories to this one in the description of this video, so just click on those and enjoy, and thank you very much. But yeah, it is finale time, and not much is left honestly, only 2 cutscenes, but they do deliver quite a lot of stuff, and they're something, let's put it that way, before we even get there. They're definitely gonna be something. But yeah, it's a finale, so that means I'm gonna be including the battle stage, aka the boss battle into this video. And of course, considering it's the finale, and once we're done with the story, I do like to yap a bit about the story, so that's gonna be the outro for this one. But all in due time, of course, and cannot wait to yap. But before we do that, quick little recap of the previous part, and as always, to anybody who wants to skip that, you can do so with the timestamps down in the comment section below. But anyway, let's do this, shall we? So, last time we began with Loughshinny meeting up with Bridget, and the two of them headed back to the city. Moran, meanwhile, is still trying to convince the Wakeman to go to the city as well. The Wake Woman, however, tells Moran the story of their past and why they can't go there. Our storytellers and writers, meanwhile, keep on going with the writing of the story, and the writer seems to finally grasp as with who he was talking to the entire time. Once back in the city, Loughshinny meets with her sister Eblana once more. The two of them finally have the dance Eblana always wanted, and Loughshinny stabs and kills her sister. However, once she dies, all her flames of death seem to escape her and run into the city. Nemo's then meets with Loughshinny, and they devise a plan to wake the people up from their madness. Nemo's will put Eblana in a coffin and drag it through the city for all to see. Our writer, meanwhile, seems to have calmed down a bit and is back to writing the story with the mystery woman. It is time to start the final act of this story in full. Bridget meets then, but doesn't see the exiled king, and the two make a bet. Bridget will go back to the Wakeman and deliver a message from the exiled king in hopes to maybe move them to action. Loughshinny then has a confrontation with the Black Mist to hold it back, and Nemo starts her tour of the city with the coffin. After a full tour of the city and returning to the square with the statue, Nemo finally has some success, and Emma leaves her house first. But she and the other residents of the city are not calming down and are just rage-filled against the Victorians until the Wakeman, Bridget, and Moran appear before them. The Wakeman then start the fire-returning ritual for the departed Red Dragon, and the citizens go along with it. They all start to return the fire to the coffin that is now under the statue. As they do so, the statue itself catches on fire, and as Loughshinny is returning from her battle with the mist, the dragon seems to come to life and is now standing right in front of her. And yeah, that is pretty much where we left off last time, so how about we continue this? And of course, we are going to be continuing here on stage number 8, what is left of it of course, and the final cutscene, but all in due order. So, stage 8 once more, titled At the End of the Night. Await the deluge, and when the sun rises, we shall have surpassed both life and death. So of course we're gonna start with the battle, like I said earlier. For those of you who wanna skip the battle, you can do so with the timestamps down below. But first, enemy description. Obviously only one new enemy here, and that is the boss. And obviously, as the story already depicted it last time, it's the dragon statue with Eblana's flames. Called All Flames Returned. The ancestral red dragon that never left the wilderness. Or perhaps it just yearns for the place where the fire is returned, like many others. New fire is added to old, everything comes to an end, and everything is reborn anew. Fitting description for this guy. Anyway, this will be our team. First of all, as I always like to try and do story relevant characters, or story accurate characters, this story doesn't really give you that option too much, considering the only technically, there's technically 4 playable operators in this story that appear at any given moment. One is obviously Eblana, the other one is obviously Reed, aka Loughshinny, Bridget of course, and the only other one is literally Harmony, who appears in those flashbacks, and that's about it. So, setting it up with these 4, I do not know if there is someone who actually somehow managed to do this stage with only those 4 characters. Congrats, you're a god. I took a while and I started adding characters that are like relevant to Victoria, at least, considering there's not many Dubliners or many many Tarans, to be fair. So I started adding Victorians into the mix. It was still being a dingus, and then I was like, okay, you know, this was enough trying. This was enough. This was 2 hours of trying to set something up that works on auto, and then I just kept adding different characters in just to see if it works. This works. This is what's gonna happen, and you guys can enjoy the battle. Anyway, let's begin.
偵察、計画、準備、そして実行。生命を救済シールは慈しみ。その誘いに乗ってやろう。こいつ服のセンスは悪くないわ。魂が踊り狂うだろう。マグマは振り返ることなく前へ。混乱した状況において小さなリブレイス、お前たちの命に甘酸っぱい虹には銀色の日差しとマグが多いよ。大征伐にて天下の安寧を保つ。福音が指先にあった。心得者どもめ。大征伐にて天下の安寧。集中。寸に足りない速度、9年の世を打ち破ることはできます。これブーメランじゃなくて刃物だから気をつけてね。眠れ眠れ、甘い夢の国にいらっしゃい。命は枯れて消え、残滓のみが徘徊する。お前たちの命に火種をまいた。
Flashback. Once again, back to chapter 9. Your Highness, the singer has just sent word that the Loughshinnists and the rest have taken Loughshinny. They're on their way to County Hillock. I see. He only said news after our troops left, and the leader had already set out for County Hillock. He seemed to want to avoid offending the Loughshinnists and his group, but also to avoid accusations of concealing information. What should we do with them? Dublin has never needed him to be our eyes. No one is counting on him for this. My utmost apologies. I'll take full responsibility. I assumed they were heading towards County Hillock on orders, and never imagined they dared to take Loughshinny. But I haven't gotten far, so we can still catch up if we set off now.
Your Highness, I'm bringing news from your sister. She hopes you can curb the Loughshinist and his men from acting rashly, and bring her back.
She said it herself?
That's right.
I'll mobilize the troops at once. Hold on. Your Highness, we should stop them as soon as possible.
Also, I don't want to go to County Hillock, straight from the dragon's mouth.
If that is truly her desire, then she ought to realize it with her own hands. It would be no difficult task with her flames. Has she not already sentenced quite a few to death in the name of the leader? Tell her this. If that is what she wants, she can do it herself. No, there's no need for even that.
Your Highness, if I may be so bold, she is your,
My sister? The giant dragon flaps its steel wings, stirring up a flaming vortex, but Loughshinny does not waver. She stabs her spear firmly in its eye socket. Still unable to commit to killing me, Loughshinny? Gradually, the dragon's voice overlaps with Eblana's, and eventually, even its body becomes hers. The scenery around them changes swiftly, just like that night in the ruins with the Bratach.
I just don't know. What exactly do you want? You deceived me and lied to so many. All for what? For the city to be buried alongside you? To become the next legendary King Gael?
I never lied to you.
And why should I believe you now? What exactly is Na Saoirsí to you? What about Tara? I had always believed we shared the same dream, so why do they seem completely different now? Or will dreams eventually become a card for you to play in your mad pursuit of power? One that you'll inevitably grow bored of? Just like Loughshinny back in County Hillock?
County Hillock? I saw no desire to return to me in your eyes back then. Only relief. Was I mistaken? Though indeed. I was truly sick of it back in County Hillock. With my flames, I can mold anything I want into any shape I want. Everything except my reflection in the mirror. No matter how large a blaze I stoked, she wouldn't change one bit.
Because you've never burned her directly.
Because I've never burned you directly. I've only ever waited. I've always been waiting. Waiting for you to give me an answer.
An answer?
What about you, Loughshinny? What do you want? Yes, it's good that your blood and your upbringing have you carry yourself high, but if you want for nothing, then what sort of position am I meant to leave by my side for you? Go on. This is your wish on a snowy night. I'll let you aspire as grand as you want.
True, you never use your flames on me, but only because you had the tools more suited for the task. Fear, duty, guilt, sympathy. You've never asked me directly to change, but you've done so indirectly countless times.
So all my attempts to guide you were useless, yet my apathy bore fruit? How terribly ironic. Whatever the case, you finally returned of your own will, ready to embrace a real life. That is enough.
Conspiracies, lust for power, war? Is that what you'd call a real life?
Is it not? Stories, poems, legends. Do you think those are enough to constitute a life worthy of you or I?
I know. I've always been ashamed of myself. Even now I hate myself for not sharing your suffering. I was the one who left, forcing you to shoulder it all on your own, letting them mold you into who you are now.
No, Loughshinny. Recently, I've been wondering if you're just as arrogant as I am. The only difference is that my arrogance is directed at the land, while yours is focused solely on me.
What?
Conspiracies, lust for power, war. Why do you assume those are what shaped me? They have never changed me. They simply happened to take on a form I was able to wield with ease. Nothing more. The tiniest bit of power can decide whether one lives or dies. Even more power can decide the fate of armies. And an overwhelming amount can decide the rise and fall of nations. But power comes to an end. The poets have always known this, and I think you do too. Am I wrong, Loughshinny? Death mocks all equally, preparing a predestined end for those who crave power, ruthlessly snatching away everything they spend their whole lives chasing.
So if you knew your path would come to naught, why did you still...
Eblana backs away as the giant steel-forged dragon follows suit. Is it escaping, or trying to hide? Loughshinny subconsciously eases her fire, but the next moment bites down on her lip and abruptly increases her strength, pushing Eblana forward. Very good. At least you have learned the most fundamental thing required for a life without me.
Cruelty?
Determination. If you have decided that this path is your life, then step forward and never look back.
You should be telling that to the people of Na Saoirsí.
Let me finish. Death mocks all equally, yet I shall mock death. So bless me, dear sister, for I am finally able to embark on a grand adventure. Eblana retreats again and again, the smile on her face fainter than ever. The sensation in Loughshinny's arms of piercing through steel gradually lessens, until it feels as smooth as a stroke through a body, then as hollow as running a spear through flame. Until an immense force like the final flash of a dying light erupts from her spear tip, pulling Loughshinny towards the other side. Ice-cold flames wrap around her body, and she suddenly realizes that she now stands at the entrance of the citadel on Red Dragon Square, right in the middle of the fire-returning rite. Or perhaps the dragon skeleton she's currently entangled with merely returned to its original position and took the chance to pull her, with her firm grip on her spear, into the core of the funeral flames. Do you still wish to get away from me, Loughshinny? Light shoots out from Loughshinny's spear, brighter than ever. In a flash, she feels a burning sensation, as painful as her internal organs rupturing repeatedly. The flames of life burst and fade in the center of death, again and again, until her weapon can no longer stand her overloaded arts and bursts aflame as well. The dragon's bones crash and collide with each other like thousands of mouths singing their separate elegies. The flames slowly grow warmer as Eblana's figure gradually fades. Loughshinny's lips quiver, itching to say words of farewell. In her heart, she scans every book she has read, yet is unable to recall an appropriate line. Before she dissipates, Eblana slowly cradles Loughshinny in an embrace.
Farewell, till death do us meet again. I hope you enjoy my parting gift. Parting gift?
The mourners in the square are completely oblivious to what is occurring within the flames. All they see is a fire growing taller and stronger, now covering the pedestal, the coffin, the dragon sculpture, the citadel, it continuing to ascend. The flames distort the dragon's figure. They can no longer tell whether it is flapping its wings in flight, in a death match with some unseen foe, or crying out in anguish with its head run through. Everyone is silent, trying to identify its posture in the firelight, but all is in vain. Until Bridget cries out in surprise.
The fire changed color!
The fire changed color. A strong wind rising up from the ground turns the sky's searing purple flames into a maelstrom, and at the bottom, where the coffin lies, arises a small but scorching sun. The entire deep purple vortex seems to light up, emitting a shining yellow from the bottom to the top. Everyone near the bonfire backs away, the flames suddenly bear warmth, nearly burning them. The rising heat dissipates, evaporating even the stream of sorrow. Perhaps a miracle is about to occur. That is the only thought on anyone's mind.
A miracle, when I have no choice but except for Tara. Is this the parting gift you prepared for me, sister?
Eblana is undeniably dead. She cannot answer. Loughshinny tries to recall their hug. Expectations met, a pinch of warmth, and cold calculation. What were the proportions of each in that embrace? Or maybe all those things were inseparable to Eblana.
You were right, Eblana. If this was your ultimate goal, if you insist on laying this bloodstained crown on top my head, then yes. Slan Avale. Until death, we shan't meet again.
The flaming vortex exhales and dissipates. The red dragon, the one who led the Tarans through the long night, steps forth from the statue's center towards the entirety of Na Saoirsí. Her expression is blurred by flame, yet her figure is as solid as the ever-persistent life on the land. One step, then another. Her feet step over the coffin still burning in purple embers. There is no body within, only the familiar flame-spewing spear of the leader. The crowd holds their breath, and the square falls silent as if they stand outside a hospital's delivery room, or perhaps a cemetery after the last shovel of soil has been heaped into a grave. Only dancing flames remain, without rest.
I can forgive everything else you've done to me, Eblana, but not this parting gift. Never. From past to present, your name will sink into oblivion alongside the countless names who built Tara. The only red dragon of Tara will be Loughshinny Dublin. I have returned. The red dragon who led you in the fight against Victoria, in the fight for independence and freedom. Loughshinny Dublin is back from the abyss of death. I died to quench the flames upon you all, but the rain of tears you shed for me extinguished that fire, allowing me to return from the abyss. This time, though, I will not drive you to your depths. Our grand undertaking is complete. Never again will there be cause for countless Tarans to offer up their lives and leave us only ruins and wailing. I pray with all my heart that every Taran will be able to curb their own flame, flames that came from slavery, from oppression, from humiliation, from sorrow that never died, not for thousands of years. I neither need nor expect you to forget. I only hope that you can do as our ancestors did, and let those flames become your lamp. A lamp that first warms yourself, and then illuminates the path for us all, so we can truly laugh, sing, and live in our homeland. A bright yet gentle light.
While the crowd is still mulling over her words, one of the residents suddenly cries out in pain. Ah! Why is the burn on my hand suddenly hurting? Wait, the colors of your lamps! Even my own change colors!
These are the lights the red dragon hopes you will carry to warm yourselves. Purple fire belongs only to the dead, yet we unwittingly let our own flames be dyed its color through overwhelming death and loss. But we mistook that fire for a blessing and allowed ourselves to be dragged towards the abyss. If the red dragon hadn't killed herself tonight, and we hadn't managed to return her flames, we could have all been dead by now, turned into walking corpses.
To extinguish the flame of death in ourselves? You said that's why she killed herself? The sense of guilt that had crept up on Nemus after the purple flames vanished leaves her unable to reply. She only nods slightly. Then she feels a sudden chill on her face. It was a drop of water. Nemus lifts her head and looks to the distant night sky. More look up as the damp raindrops pelt their faces, gently washing their tears away. It is raining. On Samhain Eve, the rain falls, heavier and heavier, but the crowd still remains in the square. They wish to thank the Red Dragon for returning their lives, for separating life from death. But the dragon tells everyone she will remain here until everyone returns home to rest. So the people gradually disperse, and eventually even the wakemen and refugees bid goodbye to the dragon. They worry that some of the dead, who have not returned their fire yet, will gather around the ruins, although that worry is unfounded. By the time the sun rises, no longer will there be any wandering dead on Taran soil. Amid sobs, Nemus bids goodbye to the dragon as well. The next day, she will wake up early to collect bricks from all over town to make a new door for Kulan's workshop. The huge square empties out, leaving only a red dragon and a nomad.
Where are you off to next, Bridget? No not sure there's anywhere to go, really. All I've ever done is pass on messages or report oncoming catastrophes. I think they will replace my job, though. What are they called again? Catastrophe messengers? There have been less and less of us nomads anyhow, so I guess I'm glad someone will carry on the work at least. You should try contacting Rhode Island. What's that? A pharmaceutical company. They're good people. You'll have to look for their headquarters. It's a land ship. I'll write them a letter tomorrow, and I was hoping you could deliver it for me. I think you'll like the place. But for tonight, you ought to rest inside the fort. We can't have you sleeping in a tent with all this rain. Let's head to the Citadel gates first.
The two of them slowly make their way towards the Citadel. The downpour continues, and the fire on the sculpture is nearly extinguished. Only a faint flame of indistinct color flickers in the dragon's eye sockets. They suddenly hear a voice from behind. Stubbornness and stupidity really are hereditary. I'm telling you. How can someone forget their own bet?
Is there someone still in the square? It's that invisible brother of mine. He made a bet with me. Invisible? Don't turn around, Loughshinny. He's a wee bit awkward, that one. No fan of being seen, I'm sure.
Looking at the flickering flame in the dragon's eyes, Labretta recalls a time centuries past, when Ailil was still a lad with a cracking voice, while his own beard had just started to sprout. Murray the Exquisite was promoting everything Victorian in the royal capital, and ultimately even banned a favorite custom for Taran commoners: placing bets. That day, Labretta had exploded in an argument with his mother, with an unprecedented level of rage. Afterwards, his mother ordered him to fast and reflect, but Ailil sneaked into his brother's bedroom with a big piece of steak for him. The brothers blew out every light in the room and merrily gorged themselves, even licking their fingers clean.
Enough stubbornness. Soon everyone in the capital will be a Victorian,
Ailil said. Labretta stroked his still soft beard and merrily shook his head. He asked, "Then why not make a bet with me? Once mother's gone, not a soul will willingly continue pretending they're Victorian."
Fine,
Ailil replied. The older brother burst into laughter. "What's on the table then? What make a good wager? Why not the crown? If you win, I'll never set foot in the palace for the rest of my life."
"No, I'll wager anything but that."
Ailil had refused. It was I who insisted on having it my way, half as a joke, and half hungry for a gamble. I nearly put him in tears, didn't I? Yes, because Ailil was always the type to give in. He'd definitely agree. And so in the end he said,
"Alright, if you go, then never come back."
Afterwards I ended up leaving the palace, wondering for years as Ailil spent that time unhappy in the capital. I heard that after losing half his men in the court, Ailil was controlled by not even Victorians, but Taran nobles speaking with Victorian accents. You lost, Labretta. No matter how homesick you are, you've spent far too long on this family visit. Not to mention, you're just a pathetic shadow cast by firelight. Man, you have your own road to walk. No more breaking promises. Right, just like that. Take out that purple fire from the stab wounds on your chest. And now, return it to the dragon who walked the same path you did. The exiled king's face twists from pain, but nevertheless, he extends his arm, bit by bit, towards the eye of the skeleton. Let's see, Alil. Is this your blades, Can phantoms also feel pain? Can they shed tears of anguish? Or is it merely the rain dripping through him as his body fades to nothingness? He can no longer tell. Or perhaps the flame of your good descendant here.
The brother!
Loughshinny steps around, but there is no sign of anyone else in the square. Only the purple fire in the red dragon's eyes. It flares up a split second, before the rain extinguishes it completely. So yeah, what an epic scene. I have no real words right now. I will, like I said, I will be talking about the story anyway in today's part at the very end, so I'm not gonna waste too much of your time here, but yeah, this was a very epic moment with a couple of very interesting things added into the mix, especially that beginning section with the little flashback once again to chapter 9. I'll say something about that when we get to the outro, but for now, this was an epic scene. Death and rebirth, essentially, in a sense, and yeah, it is time to finish off the story now with our final cutscene, titled Back Cover, and it says, "A story repeated countless times is what becomes history." Just before the mother engaged the dark mist, the wakeman of the woods came to remind her that she had yet to do that which was most important: hold a proper funeral for her daughter. The mother had intended to fight the dark mist to the death, but tears began to stream down her face when the wakeman sang their ancient song, and she chose to follow tradition and hold a wake for her daughter. All through the night, she cried at the purple bonfire representing her daughter's soul. The downpour of tears quenched the fire burning through the city, nearly extinguishing even the purple funeral fire. But the wakeman once again asked the mother if she would still fight the dark mist to the death. She gazed upon the smoldering bonfire with tears on her face, saying, "I cannot abandon my kingdom's people." As she said those words, the feeble purple flame suddenly turned bright yellow. Her daughter rose from death and walked out of the flames, and mother and daughter embraced each other. So ends the story, not in fragments, but a true, ending.
Congratulations. We pieced together the truth.
And what a happy ending. This is all thanks to you. Come, let us toast. I'll write this all down and publish it for, well, publishing it may be a challenge, but now that it's complete.
The funeral, the bonfire, the resurrection. You saw everything. I never expected you to find the courage to return to Na Saoirsí. Singer.
It was a lovely ending, wasn't it? Eblana departed with the dead, never to return. As for you, your highness Loughshinny, I dedicate the story to you. Better to publish it, seal it away, or have it fade into obscurity along with the remnants of Dublin like me. It's all up to you. How wonderful. I almost regret allowing you to belittle yourself with a title like the singer. You... Wait, what? You're not Loughshinny? You're Eblana? The once singer swings his arm furiously, spilling his drink on the table. You're dead! You can't be alive! You were killed twice! Once by spear and once by fire! You shouldn't be here! Or am I dead? This isn't funny. You're dead, Red Dragon! Go back to where you belong! I see. That's it. It was all a lie! You never died! You killed Loughshinny instead! It was all a trick, an illusion! If so, what becomes of your story? My... story? Have you calmed down? You shouldn't be alive. No, Has death ever been an eternal sleep for me? What I could do with life, I can do with death. As a reward for completing the story, writer, let me tell you one thing. All that matters is fire. The purple fire? The purple fire from your story. It may seem ethereal, but it is no fiction. It is true that over the long course of the war, I shared too much of my flame with others and became weak, feeble. But fire spreads, fire consumes, fire grows. After the battle with the Natsir on the Kashtrel, I needed to take back the flames I had given away, which had been growing on the plains, in the ruins, in the hearts of the people. You wanted it repaid with interest. Taxation is the most basic authority of a monarch. Mundane kings collect blood taxes to nurture their armies, to fight over land and people that will last mere centuries at most. I collect blood taxes to pave a road between life and death with the red dragon's flame, so that all those caught in between will look up to me. The ravings of a madwoman. No doubt it sounds that way to you, for you cannot fathom what happens when enough death to consume a nation is returned to its master. 1,000 years of anger, sorrow, and hatred converged on me all at once. Did you think they would let my flesh and spirit fade away so easily? A slave to hatred. What a fitting end for you. Have you already forgotten what I said in your story? Everyone and everything that thought they could mold me just happened to take on a form I was able to wield with ease. Were I truly their slave, you'd have been ash the moment I saw you. You lunatic! That's why you allowed Wellington to station his troops in the Darkwoods, to blockade a city, even continued the curfew. You never intended to spare Na Saoirsí! Why, thank you for finally being willing to shed light on the unpleasant truth of the Dark Mist and Wellington. Does the Battle of Silverlock Bluffs, which you witnessed from the deck of the Kashtrel, still haunt you in your alcohol-fueled dreams? It's never left you, has it? Why else would you be so obsessed with depicting the mist dangling above people's heads, yet so loath to define it? The curfew was justified at first. There were still Victorian spies in Na Saoirsí at the time indeed. The Duke of Wellington stepped up the blockade when Loughshinny entered the city because he wanted to smother any possibility of news leaking about the two red dragons. And the food that disappeared and came back on its own. The Brigadier was more than just your most trusted lieutenant. He was also captain of Wellington's Red Steel Guard. When he went to ask for supplies, Wellington acquiesced. Wellington simply became disappointed in Loughshinny when she left Na Saoirsí to seek the Wakeman, that's all. You should thank her, really. You'd never have escaped the woods if Wellington hadn't relaxed the blockade out of disappointment. As for the victory party you were so afraid to describe, don't tell me you've really glorified it into a fairy tale in your memories. Of course not. What happened to the Dubliners who weren't willing to give up their power? The ones you took away on a pretext? They were swallowed by the dark mist, as you put it, quite literally. But Loughshinny still managed to make up her mind and killed you, and Wellington didn't follow your ridiculous orders. Suppose I believe that your aberrant purple fire left you a vessel. What do you plan to do with it? Lead an army of the dead to retake Tara? I won't help you. No living soul will. You and your dead friends can go straight to hell. Huh. Indeed, you were never suited to be Dublin's singer. You cling to what you see and believe. When the two could no longer be reconciled, you chose self-destruction rather than to give up on either. But do you really imagine that everything has gone the way you think? A letter, Your Grace? You may enter. Is it urgent? No, ma'am. But look at the seal. It corresponds to no emblem on record from the past 50 years. Tara? The Duke of Castor scrutinizes what the servant is holding. On the edge of the envelope is an emblem excavated from the dusts of history. The young have never seen it, while the old have forgotten it. Only those forced to keep an eye on history remember its source. We are uncertain whether it is the mark of Tara or of King Gael. I never took you for a scholar of heraldry. That was not my intention. It is enough that we know what it signifies. To the Duke of Castor. Open it and read it out aloud. Not too quickly. Yes, ma'am. There is no greeting. Your previous letter was received. The response was delayed as the time was not yet ripe. Now it is. From this day forth, martial law is hereby lifted in Na Saoirsí and the surrounding lands south of the Grey Hills.
Extra, extra! Read all about it! Martial law to be lifted at midnight across all of Tara! Publishing restrictions lifted! The art community rejoices! Read more on page 2! Finally! Now we can call this a proper tavern! Here, here! With the curfew lifted, you can drink all throughout the night. Besides, it's my birthday! Drinks around the house! Really? You sure about this? There are enough people in the city to drink you out of house and home. Worry about yourself. Look at you, rich boy, leaving your lamp on in the middle of the day. I was just so busy I forgot. It's been warm lately, so I've been renovating. Thought I'd take the day off, because I really have been too busy. So how about another beer? I've got to get this fatigue out of my system. Here we go. On the other hand, I'm almost more afraid of not being tired. Being tired is how I know I'm still breathing. No, that's not quite it. How should I put this? Living. Yes, living. You too, ma'am. Here's one for you, Oh, it's you, Emma. I'm sorry. I've got to get going. Off to do your time on the AG plate? Yes. No idea how you managed to smuggle all that food out last year, but I hear you've been paying it off with honest work over there. So no need to be shy now. Have one on me. Thank you. To living. To Tara. To,
Emma holds the cup with one hand and puts the other in her pocket, clutching the necklace she reclaimed last winter. The words said to her when it was returned come out of her mouth almost by instinct.
To all our countrymen who gave their lives for Tara.
You're really leaving, Bridget?
Yeah, the bird and bees are calling for me from the pastures. Besides, still haven't been to this railroad island that Loughshinny wanted me to see. Want to come with?
Maybe if I have the chance. It's just sad to think that you're the one who brought us to Na Saoirsí, but can't stay yourself.
It's not that I couldn't, I just chose not to. Like your own choice to stay. Say hi to the Wakemen for me if they come back to the city.
Is that your intuition again?
It's not always right. But I don't smell that burning stink anymore. It smells like fresh buds in spring, dew in the morning. Hello, Brigadier. You two know each other?
You could say that. What are you doing here? I don't recall anything happening with the Red Steel Guard would need to be deployed here. I'm on leave. I came to honor the memory of my comrades, scoundrels to be sure, but I fought by my side. If you're looking to take revenge for those who died during your exile, this is your chance. A brawl with a soldier on leave wouldn't be considered an attack on the military.
It wasn't you who killed Salmon and the others. Not directly. I'll remember what you did. That's enough for me.
I see. What more can anyone ask for than to be remembered?
Beltane, also known as the Festival of Fire, is scheduled to be revived in the coming days. The fire passing ritual will start in Oak Grove County. Beltane, also known as the Festival of Fire, is scheduled to be revived in the coming days. The fire passing ritual will start in Oak Grove County.
You're awfully quiet. Are you nervous?
No, it just strikes me that we managed to turn what you'd see in the books into reality. On the last day of spring, we extinguish the fires in our homes, then come together to relight them at Beltane. In the smoke of the bonfire and drifting ash, we welcome the coming of a new season and of a new life.
Your Highness Loughshinny, the lighting ceremony will begin in a few minutes. Alright, thank you.
Maybe I've waited too long for this. It feels no realer than a dream. I wanted to sing, Nemos, but you've already sung for me back in Na Saoirsí, so this time, the flames in my hand will do the singing.
One more thing, Your Highness. About Her Highness Eblana. Your Highness, it's time!
Sorry, Nemos. We can speak after the ritual.
The dragon steps forward. A stone platform sculpted in the style of the ruins serves as her lectern. She lights the bonfire upon it and turns around. From the square below her, many faces gaze up with bated breath. She takes a deep breath.
1,000 years ago, the Dracos of Victoria invaded Tara, creating the title of King Gael as an epithet of shame, robbing the nomadic Tarans of their freedom. 600 years ago, the reigning King Gael had no choice but to allow the Victorians to remake the royal capital in their own image. 200 years ago, the Aslans seized the crown of Victoria, but once again they trampled their dreams of the Tarans beneath their feet, such that even our language was almost lost to us. Now Tara stands on her own. I recite this history of shame not to fan the flames of hatred, but in defense of peace. Sing what songs in Victorian suffice to praise the beauty you see. Tell what tales in Taran will move the passions. We remember so that we might provide the living the dignity of life, and the dead the promise of reunion. Throughout the cold night, we shall retain a warm flame. As such, I, Loughshinny Dublin, the last descendant of the Taran Dracos, I shall light this fire symbolizing new life. May it guide the way for all, whether living or departed. Enclosed you will find templates for nomadic city immigration forms. Signed, the Kingdom of Tara. This is treason! The King of Tara has long been one of the titles of the Victorian Emperor. Nothing in this letter denies it. To avoid conflict, the Red Dragon has even indefinitely delayed the coronation. So many are looking forward to it. But in reality, the indecisive claimant, the corrupt oligarchs, the blockading army, and the flames of dissent, all these issues have been put to rest. For the first time in centuries, they proudly tell a new legend of a King Gael. In the short term, the unrest has indeed been contained within Wellington's domain. With time, however, it can become a greater threat than any insurrection. Tara must not be allowed to secede from Victoria. As long as Wellington doesn't take his entire territory away in a nomadic city, the other dukes and I will continue to negotiate with them. Yes, ma'am. I'll draft some long-term plans regarding that. It's finally over. Well done. Well done indeed. Thank you. So, what was it you wanted to say about Eblana before the ceremony? We never found her body. If she somehow survived, I worry that someday a completely different story will be told about the resurrection of the Red Dragon. What story? That it was no miracle, but the assassination of one dragon by another? Worse than that. I see. You're afraid that Eblana will return and paint the whole thing as a conspiracy I orchestrated. Our position is not unassailable. We both know that her body disappeared earlier that night after you killed her the first time. What I dragged through the streets wasn't her body, but an empty coffin. I know. I also know that it was I who used the last spark of fire she left in her spear to ignite the coffin. It was I who left the city to parley with Wellington, laying out our plans in exchange for him delaying military action while they played out. It was I who walked into the fire the people had returned to Eblana, I who quenched and replaced the fire of death with the fire of life, and I who walked out of the fire in the end. We've known all this since the day of on the balcony of Na Saoirsí Citadel. Eblana had left us a puzzle with no solution. The only way out was a miracle. A miracle we scripted and directed. If anything, the true miracle was the Wakemen returning to the city. If Eblana hadn't awakened the exiled king, if Bridgen hadn't delivered that message centuries overdue, if Moran hadn't persuaded them, with just the two of us, that miracle could never have occurred. So, what is there to fear at this point? Eblana has cut off any path leading away from the throne. All I can do is devote the rest of my days to Tara, and patiently await my judgment in some unknowable future.
Nemus was dragging an empty coffin? Loughshinny was planning to resurrect the dragon the moment she first killed you? You're lying. I know, it was Wellington. He found a conscience and lifted the blockade on his own.
You just won't give up, will you? The Iron Duke with a conscience? Hilarious.
You promised him that only good could come out of your scheming.
All I promised him on the Castrel was that I could change the direction of Tara, so long as Loughshinny was willing to return.
The red dragon breathed flames of death, the spectre force with its dead soldiers, Dublin with its blood-stained hands. Everything was fated to sink into darkness, while the Tarans united under the banner of the one and only Red Dragon. Of course, His Grace was unaware that everyone in Na Saoirsí was meant to die for the plan. But I knew. A city of doomed souls in exchange for Tara's lasting stability. Only good could come of it, no? A shame that the Duke isn't fond of Loughshinny. Things could have gone even more smoothly otherwise. Sophistry! You lied to Wellington! Your plan was anything but harmless, and the people of Na Saoirsí did live! To everyone's surprise. In exchange for their lives, Loughshinny reached for the scepter of power that she detested so much. She chose to write a saga, a novel, a miracle that should have been beneath her noble dignity. It was something only she could do, something that wouldn't have been possible even a few years ago. Would you have placed a miracle on these scales from the start? What if Loughshinny had failed? Then you wouldn't be sitting here enjoying your drink. I'm sure you've heard stories about what the Iron Duke does to whatever he considers an obstacle. Every story begins with an inspiration. Memories rush into the writer's mind like seawater at high tide. He struggles to break free, only to find himself powerless against the oncoming tide. Red Dragon! You knew from the beginning. You almost destroyed Na Saoirsí! You made a mockery of all of Tara! No, I must object to that. I simply fulfilled a promise. Is being true to one's word no longer a virtue? Even you yourself admitted that this was a happy ending. No, never! This isn't how the story ends. This isn't how my story is supposed to go. The writer sees a sliver of white. He falls to his knees and crawls along the ground, trying to collect the scattered sheets of paper that had flown loose. 1, 2, 3. He clutches them in hand, along with his pen. No. What would you like to write? Let me help you. No. The writer's shoulders tremble hysterically. Panicked, he begins to back off, until his back hits the rickety wall of the tavern. Grabbing his pen like a spear, he begins to stab at the paper. Muttering under his breath, he only manages to cover them with scattered ink blots. Soon, even his muttering loses coherence. The commotion causes the drunken barkeep to come out from behind the counter and grab it by the collar. What you babbling about? Realizing that he can no longer form words, the writer looks desperately towards the woman watching him with disinterest. He points at the woman's hands, then at his own mouth. The meaning was clear. You've lost your words. Perhaps you hit your head from excitement or had a minor stroke. Or perhaps it's because you just saw something you believed in so firmly for so long shattered to pieces. The very thing that inspired you to join Dublin, caused you to stay at the victory party, made you turn back to Na Saoirsí halfway. But it's time to wake up. With a trembling hand, the writer tries to write on his palm, but leaves only crooked, disjointed lines. You wrote a story for Tara, a complete story, not a collection of fragments. It's a good one. I like it. And I like it even more now that it belongs only to me, not to you. Slung of all, singer? No, writer. Slung of all, the last Dubliner. I look forward to the stories you'll tell me when death reunites us. With one last glance at the writer, the woman tosses a few coins onto the table and walks out of the tavern. A memory comes back to the writer. It was the same look Eblana gave him that night, a year and a half ago, when he decided to delay his report after the leader's shadow had already departed, in hopes staying in both sides' good graces. What should I call you then?
Whatever you're thinking, I'm only Necros here. Unless you two find a signed sheet of paper to hold no power whatsoever.
Operator Necros.
If you find the title necessary, Eurodite. For my part, I'm more curious about your lack of reaction upon hearing the whole story.
I read the report on Na Saoirsí, so I've already heard the story.
Ah, a lapse on my part, I see. First a private letter from Na Saoirsí, then fragments through official channels. Loughshinny is getting better at this. Then I presume she told you all about me, which is why you were willing to sit down with me by yourself and hear out this patchwork tale of allusions and insinuations.
No, she has yet to find your body. She is unaware you're in a position to tell stories.
That makes your courage all the more admirable. And I mustn't neglect to give credit to Loughshinny where it's due. She's more than just a qualified dance partner now. She's ready to take the lead. I do hope she enjoys herself.
Sounds like you like your new powers.
Of course I do. The powers of the dead aren't necessarily greater than those of the living, but they are more lasting and harder to check.
But you'll soon grow bored of them. Like everything else you've ever had. Followers, martyrs, dominion, status.
Life is short, but death is long, Eurodite. There are still so many interesting people in the mortal realm. That alone is reason enough for me to await them in death.
So you gave Reed your old toys?
A cutting question, Eurodite, but I allow it. And not only because your accusation is astute, if prejudiced, but also because you are one of the interesting people I mentioned.
What makes me interesting?
I am inseparable from death. Is it not the natural order of things that those like me should be drawn to Rhode Island? I was drawn, so I came. This place is always covered in the scent of death. After all, especially around you, my dear Eurodite.
I don't understand.
You will, someday. When the tides erupt and the night of death descends, you will be grateful for my presence, so long as I do not mock your predicament. As for right now, I am simply the shadow of Tara's leader. Just Necros, nothing more.
And there we have it. That is our full story. So, I am quite positively surprised that at the end of the story they did actually go through the effort of showing what was real and what wasn't real of the story. Pretty much the entire outline of the story is almost completely real outside of a couple of elements being kind of rearranged or differently told. But at the end of the story there, and I'm happy that they did it this way, they only told it in like a single line, just listing out all the elements that were like camouflages for what was actually there, and didn't really have to go into detail of elaboration too much of what the hell happened. Just, oh yeah, this, that, and this was fake, and this is what actually was there. That was it. You don't need anything anymore because the story already told you what was happening, right? But yeah, the whole Black Mist, for example, That was just the Earl of Warwick and his army that was literally keeping everybody in the city just in check so no one escapes. As stated, mostly because of spies, but I would say a major thing was also stopping the spread of contamination. The city was really in a mental state, but also infected with the flames from Eblana. That was an actual thing, by the way. That was not pretend. The flames were actually spread to the living. Yeah, after everything got cleared out, Warwick apparently cleared it out as well. This explains as well how the Brigadier managed to come back from the mist. I mean, the guy literally works directly for the Earl of Warwick in his military. He's a commander there, a brigadier essentially, and that explains how he came back. He's the one who returned the food, essentially. And like again stated in the story, they only got the food back because, or rather, they got probably new food back because the Earl was like, okay, you can have it. At this point, I guess you can have it. But yeah, pretty much most of the elements were real, just camouflaged to be something else. And then the whole shtick of the whole plan, essentially, with the resurrection coming from actually Loughshinny and Demos, putting that together very quickly. And as they stated as well, if not for the Wakeman actually appearing with Bridget and Moran, then good God, that plan would have probably not succeeded. The two of them would have definitely not managed to rattle the people to return the fire to Eblana and be done with that. But that was very well handled. And yeah, a lot of elements were not real, a lot of elements were real. I do, however, like one twist of the story, and that the writer is the singer. That's why they kept bringing him up. I was at one point like just thinking to myself, I think I even brought it up during maybe the previous part as well. They keep bringing him back for some reason, like they keep mentioning the singer specifically, and I'm like, okay, there has to be something with him. They have to do something with this guy, because he apparently is the only one who managed to escape the blockade of the city for some reason. And here we have the reason why. Warwick pretty much lowered the security essentially around the city, and somehow he managed then to slip through. And he became a writer. I love that Eblana kept teasing him that the title singer was not really appropriate for the guy, but the writer fits way better. I do also love how absolutely batshit insane a guy goes when he realizes that Eblana is still alive and that he was speaking to her the entire time. Just shows you how much fear that woman has instilled into some people, alright? Good lord. But yeah, I like that twist. And also, again, a thing that I was actually expecting to be probably a fake thing or something, camouflaging is something else. The exiled king, Lebreatach, is actually real. He was actually in the story. He was actually roaming around. He was resurrected. Well, to some degree resurrected. He was pretty much... I don't even know how to quantify him, because all of Eblana's stuff so far was literally just giving life to a lifeless corpse, but he is different. He was being prepped alive by the flame, but he also didn't have a body, so according to the story and how it went, only people who have a direct lineage to him can see him, and other people like Bridget, who... I know she was named as a descendant, but I don't know if that means that she's like blood descendant. That's kind of weird. I mean, I can explain it away in one way, but I'll get to that in a moment. But yeah, she is related to the guy. She's part of the nomads, and Lebreatach was a nomad at one point. It seems that he is the origin point maybe of the nomads, even that are working for the Tarans, or rather were working for the Tarans behind the scenes, until well, this day essentially. But yeah, I don't know as exactly, and I would love to hear people, you guys' theories essentially about the whole descendancy thing for Bridget. I mean, you can explain it away with two probably solutions here. One would be just Bridget is just a descendant of the same clan that Labratach is from. Doesn't mean that they're blood related, just that the whole clan at one point in the past had contact with him. So maybe there's some lingering arts still left on every single clan member leading forward, like a genetical trait essentially that kind of sticks around and she can hear him. Or if you're talking about blood descendancy, the only thing I can think of is they brought her up, but they didn't really explain what happened to her. Labretta had a daughter. I mean, that kid definitely called him dad, and I don't know if adopted kid or not, or actual blood child of his, but he had a daughter, and we don't know what happened to her. they didn't. I don't remember. I mean, I read through this whole thing so many times at this point. I don't remember them actually mentioning what happened to the daughter. They just mentioned that they killed him at one point, and then his corpse got dragged around until they returned the fire to him, and that was that essentially. They never mentioned what happened to his daughter or anything. I mean, they were part of the nomads, so I guess they just kept on living wherever their camps are and stuff like that, so who knows. But the only way I can explain if Bridget is a blood descendant of Labratach would be that his daughter obviously married someone of a different race. They had a child, which already, dilutes the bloodline. Then that child, or children, who knows how many they had, marry again into another bloodline, or rather with another race, intermingling, and down the line would trickle and get all the way here to Bridget, which probably has like maybe 5% dragon in her in her DNA. It's pretty much like in real life. If you go and do a DNA test to figure out what kind of regions your genetics are from, you're gonna get some wild results. I've seen some stuff online, and people who think they're mostly this and that get wild results sometimes with their like DNA origin. But anyway, that one's fun to think about. But yeah, I would love to hear theories what you guys have. But I think there are only two theories for Bridget being either just from the same clan, or intermixing with other races from Labratach's daughter all the way to 600 years later with Bridget. That's the current end result. But yeah, that's a fun one, and Bridget is a fun character overall. Overall, the story was good. It definitely had me in its grips. It was definitely sad and pressing as hell. Like that one section with Theo and Kulan. Ooh, holy shit, that part. Ooh, that was a pain. But I will say the story was pretty well written, and I enjoyed it a lot, despite all the depression that was happening through it. And it just, it probably mostly shows in when I'm reading something and I'm so locked into reading it, despite me being me, and I'm immediately on the first read through doing like character voices and everything. I'm still fully locked in, and I'm just going. Even when some stuff is happening, there is no commentary. There's just go. Finish the story. Keep going. This is interesting. See how this is gonna continue. That was pretty much this story. That was pretty much this story all the way until the end. I think the only two times in this story or rather 2 episodes in this story where I will have any clips are for part 1 because of new character introduction, and this final part because of a couple of scenes from the epilogue cutscene. That's pretty much it. But yeah, pretty good story overall, and I like the developments. Again, Reed's growth from the timid being that she was all the way to here is fascinating to watch. Also, speaking of, now that I'm mentioning her, the 2 flashbacks that we had for Chapter 9, essentially, or pre-Chapter 9, rather, because both flashbacks were covering Reed essentially heading for County Hillock, which is where Chapter 9 is taking part in. And I love the depiction here, which obviously shows what was actually happening and how we got there essentially. And it wasn't even Eblana. It wasn't even Eblana who started the whole fiasco over there, with sending Reed in as her body double. It was the illusionist. It was that asshole. Now I'm even more glad that guy got absolutely obliterated into oblivion, even though we lost a absolutely cool character for that. But I'm absolutely way more stoked that guy got absolutely blasted into nothingness. There's not even dust probably left of that idiot. But yeah, that was the actual ringleader. Now, with that said, Eblana still didn't care about what happened there. She didn't give a rat's ass about what happened to County Hillock or how many people died or got infected or whatever. She does not give a shit. The only thing that matters for her is what is interesting and the fact that if there is death, she can feed on it. That's pretty much it. Which brings me to another thing. It's very, very interesting to compare Eblana's flames of death, essentially, to how the Nachtserer are. And again, as a reminder, the Nachtserer are pretty much feeding on death, and so is her, essentially. But it's kind of like the same thing, but yet they are separate two things, but they are very similar. I don't even know how to quantify that. It's the same, but not the same. Kind of like, okay, actually, yeah. Thinking about it, yeah, the Nachtserers are essentially all about decay and death, while Eblana is just about death, but also bringing the dead back to sorta life, not really life. It's just a puppet state, to be fair, but. Yeah, it's similar but different when you start digging into it. But still, very similar to each other. But yeah, coming back to the Chapter 9 stuff, very interesting. Very interesting depiction to see how everything was. Also seeing more about the Brigadier, how, despite the fact that obviously he is someone who is placed in Warwick's care, but yeah, very... sorry, not Warwick, Wellington. I keep confusing these two for some reason today. Wellington, not Warwick. I think I said earlier Warwick, I meant Wellington when I was talking about that. Anyway, but yeah, very interesting whole spiel here with Wellington, and yeah. But also, speaking of Wellington, also crazy to think about that the entire town was about to die to her flames, but Wellington didn't know about that. He did not know that the town would actually perish. Holy shit, that is mental. But good that didn't happen. The town is safe. And speaking of the town, again, I can happily say I definitely, for what they were doing, I hate the guts of those citizens. Some of them did some absolutely wretched shit. But I can also, to some degree, understand them. I mean, one part of this whole thing is that they were pushed by the flames to become even crazier. Again, those flames, from what I'm understanding at least, is that they're enhancing a desire, essentially, and whatever the prime feeling is that you're feeling is probably gonna get super enhanced. For them, it was pretty much rage, and just rage. So whatever, any kind of obsession that they were having at that moment, I mean, they were starving. They were starving, they were dying, they just finished a war, tons of loved ones and fellow citizens died. It's a depressing matter for the city, and then it just gets enhanced more and more to the point of madness. And to that point, I can understand them, but I can still say that they are absolute assholes. They are absolute assholes for what they were doing to the city. Poor Theo did not deserve that. That child did nothing wrong, and Kulan also sacrificing himself in hopes of actually provoking the people to do something did not result almost in nothing. Very sad. I was kind of hoping that that guy at least would stay around, because despite the fact that he is definitely a Taran from all what it seems, he's also blacksmith, and he at least felt like he could have a lot of potentially connections back to Minos, but dead. We find someone who is potentially a Minoan blacksmith, and he is dead. there it goes. There it goes. Hypergriff doing everything in their being to just dodge anything related to the Greek, but then teasing a shit ton of Greek stuff. This year has really been full of small little teases towards the Minoan stuff. One day we will get the Greeks. One day we will get them, and we will see what the shit is happening there. Aspasia better become playable, I swear. Anyway, but yeah, story overall was super depressing, is all I can say, but it had its bright moments, it had its hopeful moments, and I'm happy that it ended on a hopeful note, that the citizens are actually, you know, moving on, that they're doing stuff, keeping themselves busy, repairing, rebuilding. Look, rage has to stop somewhere, and the generation has to move on, and a new generation has to come in, and hopefully not be taught and tainted by whatever the current generation is feeling. That is the most important part. And to some degree, I can understand that as, you know, a Croatian who was born in 87, and while the war from 91 to 95 was essentially happening, I was in Germany, but I do know, when I returned back, how many adults were pretty much hating on the Serbs back then, and how that hate trickled into the children, and how just casually children would just yell something out that is super racy, and had to be reprimanded then by, for example, teachers and stuff. I had a little incident with one child in my class who one of them was of Serbian descent, the other one was obviously Croatian, but the Croatian one, at some point, and because he picked up something from his parents, probably, or some environment around him, yelled something at the other guy, and oh boy, that was not okay. So I do kind of, I've seen it firsthand how that animosity essentially can be passed down without the parents probably wanting to pass it down. It's just a passive thing that you don't think about. So TLDR, I am glad that these people actually are moving on. That Emma is apparently doing stuff to rectify her mistakes, and I'll rather have this than all of them just dying a miserable death. Dying a miserable death fulfills no purpose if no one learns from it. And enough people have already died. Let these idiots live. Let a new generation come in, and let them take over then for them, and hopefully bring Tara into a better future. Is all I can say to that. But yeah, anyway, as for that, a quick overview of the characters, I guess, before we leave this off. Yeah, let's go through that very quickly. Well, at the end of the story, we had a couple of additions. The doc appeared, which was funny as hell. Did not expect to see the doc see the doc. See the text boxes of the doc for any given reason in the story, but that was fun. Then out of nowhere, Duke of Castor all of a sudden receiving a letter from, I presume that letter was written by Loughshinny. I mean, it was sealed, or rather stamped by a Taran emblem, so I'm presuming that is directly from Loughshinny. That's why I gave that voice to that. Oh, speaking of voice, I am super glad that I was right with the voice again. Look, I just didn't want to have the mystery woman voiced in some weird way, or just some plain voice, or whatever the hell. So I was betting on it by the little details I had at the beginning, and I'm happy the bet paid off. I am super happy the bet paid off. The writer was a funny one. Once again, all props to the voice actor, Philippe, who was voicing the writer in a couple of scenes. A bit disappointed that at the end they didn't get Philippe to voice the final beginning section of the final stage. It would have been. Honestly, the way the story was panning out at the end, it would have been funnier if the last cutscene at the beginning was voiced by Eblana's VA. However, I presume that would have been then weird because outside of the writer, aka the narrator of the story, Eblana has multiple voice actors as a playable unit. They would have probably had to ask every single one of them then to voice that line. A bit disappointed that they didn't maybe do it. I mean, it's just a couple of lines of text. They could have afforded that very easily, but it is what it is. I am definitely happy with the voiceover that I did for the couple of scenes with Philippe. That was super dope. And again, I hope they keep doing this into the future and just, you know, like I already said during this voiceover, I hope they keep on doing these like moments to moments where just something random is voiced, just to add a bit more emphasis to the scene, and that makes my life easier as well. Anyway, but yeah. Nemo's then, on the other hand, is an interesting character as well. I do not know if she's gonna become playable. Chances are good, I would say, but as what? If they make her playable, I mean, she could join Rhode Island through Loughshinny's recommendation or something, you know, just like Bridget did. But I don't know. If they make her playable, all I could think about is she's either gonna be a support character or a medic. That's all I can see around her, considering how she was presented in this story. She could be a bard. She could essentially be a bard. Would be funny, actually, if she was a bard, but instead of giving buffs to people around her and some passive healing, she is debuffing. She's singing the Taran songs and she's debuffing everybody around her. That would be funny. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Definitely has potential as a playable unit. We'll see what happens with that. Then the Brigadier was, I mean, a bit more, you know, explanation around the Brigadier was very nice in this story to see, and a bit more characterization as well to the guy, to see that he has a bit more sides to him. I mean, that was already kind of in the previous story shown that he isn't just a one-trick pony. There is more to the guy than meets the eye. He isn't just a rigid military man. But I like the guy, despite the fact that he definitely did some heinous shit in the past. I find that character interesting. I would love to see more of him. I don't know if we will. He's definitely not gonna be playable. That guy is definitely not gonna be playable. I will be shocked if he becomes playable for some reason. Considering who he works for constantly, and he's part of the military of Tara, essentially. That I don't think he's gonna be playable, but would be fun, but probably not. Then probably the second most interesting character of this whole, or maybe third most interesting character of this whole thing, the Exiled King. Good lord, that was interesting to see. Essentially the spirit of the guy from 600 years ago. The one the stories are all based on. That we've known for a long while now. But yeah, very interesting depiction. And that little flashback at the end as well, seeing that, yeah, he was good buddy with his brother, but stuff went south, I guess, down the line. They still didn't give a proper reason why they killed him, outside of the fact that he broke the promise, I guess, between each other, and he also was starting to spread his flames of decay around, so I don't know, maybe that had to do with it, but it was definitely nice to see the guy and get to know the guy, and also see that apparently the Dragon of Death from 600 years ago is more like the current Loughshinny than Eblana. That was interesting. It was the complete opposite. 600 years ago, the Dragon of Death was the apparently the more friendly and optimistic one, while his younger brother got actually pushed into a position where he was just apparently he was just a puppet. He was just a puppet to the government back then, and that's pretty much what it was, I guess. Very sad. That's very sad to see. I do wish they would have maybe told a bit more, maybe showed a glimpse of what the brother was thinking, why he did what he did, but who knows? Maybe we'll get to know one day, maybe we won't. I think it's fine the way it is, however, and to see and hear more about that past was already enough. I like the guy. He was fun. It was also fun to voice and do some special effects on top of it. Do the whole I am a spirit and not in a physical body. Woo! But yeah, that was fun. Seeing Harmony in flashbacks all of a sudden was wild. But it's Harmony. I have nothing else to add to her. I already talked about her enough. Moran. Not much to say there outside of I do like her character growth as well. As in, she isn't forgiving the Brigadier and what they did to her friends, essentially, family members back then, as we remember the previous story in this storyline, but I do like her character though, that she's also embracing the whole thing of, sure, keep the hate, but just stop. Let it be there and just keep going. Keep going with life. You can deal with the dead when you're dead. Duke it out as much as you want in hell. Or in heaven, or wherever the hell you're going, whatever you're believing in. Go there and then duke it out. Bridget already said a couple of things about, not much to add there outside of interesting lineage. Very bright personality. In the... Again, purely because of the brightish yellow coloring for her hair and her ears, she's a good little labradoodle. And she's now our labradoodle. She's gonna be happy. But yeah, interesting. The Nomads are also kind of an interesting little faction. But oh yeah, speaking of Bridget, Bridget obviously has the operator record that I have yet to read and record. It will be up a day after this video goes live, so do keep a lookout at the channel, and you'll see it when it pops up, essentially. But yeah, I'm looking forward to reading that one, because I don't know what it's gonna be about, quite honestly. If it's gonna be a sequel, prequel, playing alongside this story, I don't know. We'll see when I upload that thing, what's gonna be in it. Eblana Banana. I mean, do I need to say anything about this crazy chick? About this necromancer that is also a wraith, probably? Holy hell. She definitely does not play around. Whatever she set out to do, she did. Holy moly. Yeah. That's a character. I'm terrified. I do wonder what she foresaw in the future, where apparently whatever will happen in the future, that the doc will be happy that she is there at that moment. I mean, also, she's not wrong in saying that death is following Rhode Island. I mean, dealing with the Ripathy, right? I don't know, we'll see. She definitely said some cryptic shit there, and we'll see where that leads. I'm definitely curious, and as long as she's happy, the dog doesn't have to fear for their ass. Otherwise, oh boy, I don't wanna... restraining order. Anyway, Loughshinny. Good god. Character growth, right? From the timid child that was just absorbed in books and was scared of everything, to the puppet, aka the shadow, for Eblana, and then after nearly dying in County Hillock, getting on board of Rhode Island and getting a taste of normality, I guess, then growing through the story of the previous one in this line, the Firelight story, and then seeing her further growth here. Good lord, she went through a character arc. This character went through a character arc, alright. And I love where she is right now with the character arc. She is definitely a capable person, smart, and definitely cunning. She's learning from her sister. And yeah, we'll see where the story is gonna lead into the future. I don't know if much more is gonna be shown from her outside of, you know, all these stories currently are overlapping and interacting with each other. I wonder if something will happen there, if she's definitely gonna show up in some capacity somewhere, if some mention about Tara is gonna be happening. Could even be a united front with Taran and Victorian armies, because considering that that Vina Victoria is now in kind of charge as well of Victoria to some degree, she's definitely keeping the dukes in line. Could be one day whatever is gonna be faced, where all armies across the globe are gonna be necessary. Victoria and Tara are gonna be shoulder to shoulder, which is gonna be awkward as hell, but I'm gonna love it. I'm gonna love it to all bits. But yeah, also I do like one thing, just to go back quickly to Eblana, I do love the little ending phrase of that she is now the shadow. We went full 180. You swapped places. That was a beautiful little thing. Also, I did like the little scenes between Eblana and Loughshinny in their childhood as well. Just seeing the little models, they're absolutely adorable. Tiny little horns, very cutesy. But yeah, interesting. Also, it doesn't say here, but I also don't have Eblana's full file unlocked yet. So I haven't read through the whole thing. I will at some point. The little point and piece that I could read, however, was very interesting because it's a diary from their adoptive father, essentially, Warwick, as he was noting down. Apparently, in their childhood, I mean, Reed was already pretty much as we know her back as a child back then. Eblana is more interesting as a child because at the beginning she was just closed off apparently and just keeping to herself, no reaction, no nothing. She wasn't doing anything, and then later picked up, apparently, according to the diary, later picked up that she can essentially just manipulate people to gain whatever she wants to gain. She became cunning, she became calculative, and cold as ice, essentially. Very interesting. She also went through her character arc when she was a child, and she did it in a speed run. unlike Loughshinny, who needed like however many years she's old at this point. But yeah, overall, TLDR, I really enjoyed the story. Had very interesting storytelling, very gripping storytelling. And some scenes were definitely very hard to do, or not really hard to do, but properly deliver the lines. Like, especially, for example, the cutscene after Stage 8 was something that I went through. I would say that 30-minute cutscene I probably spent probably 6 hours on. Just to get certain points properly done and properly voiced. At the end of the day, you are your own worst critic, as the saying goes. But yeah, anyway, it was fun. It was definitely fun to voice through this story. As much as it was painful as well to do it, it was definitely fun. But anyway, that will be it from me, and this is where I'm gonna leave you guys off, essentially. This is done. I do need to edit this thing, and there will be quite some edits that I need to do, because the special effects section is calling. And yeah, I still need to blast very quickly through the EX stages when it's gonna be rendering, but that will be for me in post to do. For now, thank you very much for listening and watching, hope you enjoyed. As always, excuse for the long rambling section here at the end, but I do always like to voice my thoughts about story and characters and stuff like that, what I enjoyed about it. Honestly, also, now thinking about it, there wasn't really anything like story or writing-wise that I disliked about this one. Now that I really think about it. Yeah. Anyway, thank you very much for listening and watching, hope you enjoyed. If you did so, please consider leaving a like, it would help out a lot. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing for more. I mean, pretty much everything in Arknights is done, and the new main story chapter is about to approach next week after this episode goes live, so very soon we are continuing the trek through main story, and oh boy, whatever that is gonna entail, I'm looking forward to it. People were apparently super rabid in the past when that released. I'm just happy that I dodged spoilers, and I hope I'm gonna keep being able to dodge them when the chapter drops. But anyway, thank you very much, hope you enjoyed. Like I said, please like and subscribe if you're new to the channel, and if you want to support me more directly, memberships are open. As I say, no video will be behind a membership, it's purely there for support, so thank you to all the members already doing so, much appreciated. And I hope you all have a fantastic day wherever you are, and I will see you in the next one. Until then, bye-bye! The funeral, the bonfire, the resurrection. You saw everything. I never expected you to find the courage to return to Na Saoirsí. Singer. Oh, that's why there were... Okay, this twist I like. Oh, this twist I like. I was even in one of the recaps, I was making sure to mention that the singer survived, because I felt like this is important. For some reason they are showing that the guy survived. And even here in the previous cutscene they brought up the singer for a brief moment. Oh, the writer is the singer. Ooh. And his name changed. Hey. Oh, that is cool. Huh. Interesting. So the singer was one of the OG guys from back from the County Hillock incident. Like, he's the only one who survived, essentially? Wow, he came a long way. Damn, he came a long way in that sense, then. If he's... Yeah, he survived from back then. He wasn't... I would have to check my document again. Actually, episode 9. Let's see. Is the singer coming up anywhere? I don't even know if I name... I might have actually not... Oh, yeah, I probably didn't write those guys down back then. Ah, shit. Oh well. I almost regret allowing you to belittle yourself with a title like the singer. You, wait, what? You're not Loughshinny. You're Eblana? Oh, this is funny. This is funny. He, This is actually funny. So he thought, when he figured out who he's talking to, he thought he was talking to Loughshinny the entire time? That's kind of funny. What a spook. Damn, buddy.